Now, what's interesting is, as I said yesterday, they don't do that. It doesn't actually end up doing that, playing that role at all. And this is yet further evidence that it doesn't do that at all. But having said that, we have I don't want to show the video here if it shows like the actual, oh, he just kind of hooks a right directly in to the crowd past. Did you watch the New Orleans conference an hour ago? Was it close? Yeah, I don't know. I haven't watched it. No. Did I join your stream from the start? Do you agree it was an ISIS attack? Wait, what? My man, I have no idea what, like, is it ISIS? Do we know? Are you talking about the Cybertruck explosion? Are you talking about the New Orleans one? What the hell? You got to stop manifesting. They're going all out on manufacturing, talking about people involved in a terrorist driver. You know what's crazy? I talked about this yesterday, and the point I ended it on was there's still a likelihood that this can happen, and there could be some kind of attack, and like the immediate assertion of this being like that it's like a you know, Islamist style like Hamas attack is so ridiculous, considering that, you know, Hamas has never operated outside of the outside of Gaza for the most part. ISIS also is, you know, a cutout of American state assets in general. So if it is actually someone who is like ISIS affiliated, FBI officially identifies Shamsuddin Jabbar, a U.S. citizen from Texas, as the driver of the New Orleans ramming attack. An ISIS flag was in the vehicle where weapons and a potential IED were found, the Bureau says. I believe that the dude was also some stuff that I saw was that he was like an army guy, which, you know, interestingly enough. John Kennedy spoke at the press conference update. You are not ready for the insanity. Oh boy. We're bringing in New Year's. We're bringing in 2025 with a really, really horrifying those events. I would. In a really horrifying way. Ex-veteran turned real estate agent. Yeah. There's people have like gathered, investigative reporters have gathered their LinkedIn. Here's Jacqueline's tweet from The Intercept and The Guardian. Shamsuddin Jabbar's LinkedIn profile was deleted, but here are his ghost remnants. I guess let me just start off with giving you details about what took place in New Orleans yesterday, or I mean last night, sorry, or I guess this morning technically. At least 10 are killed in New Orleans after a driver intentionally rammed into a crowd on Bourbon Street. Okay, so that is what happened. I believe 35 are injured as of now when a driver rammed a pickup truck into a crowd during a New Year's celebration on Bourbon Street in New Orleans early on Wednesday morning. The FBI is investigating it as an act of terrorism. The FBI has identified the suspect as a 42-year-old Texas man and Army veteran. Law enforcement sources say the suspect, who was killed in a firefight with officers, had an ISIS flag at the time of the attack. The FBI said it is investigating the potential association with terrorist organizations. The FBI said it doesn't think the driver was solely responsible. Weapons as well as potentially improvised explosive devices, otherwise known as IEDs, were found on the vehicle. Officials have located IEDs in the area. The attack at the popular French Quarter happened less than a mile from where the Sugar Bowl was to be hosted Wednesday. The annual college football game was postponed for 24 hours for public safety reasons, the Bulls CEO said. How does this not hurt you to cover? What? Anyway, there was a police barricade. So if you're wondering like how this happened, there was of course a police barricade, which apparently the driver went around. Video shows the moment the FBI says Shamsuddin Jabbar raced onto a packed Bourbon Street from Canal Street in a pickup truck with Texas plates and an ISIS flag. There's video being reviewed by FBI of 3 men and 1 woman placing bombs around the area. It's a tragedy. Yes, it is a tragedy. This is what I do. I cover I'm a news political commentator. Okay. A couple things that are immediately interesting, obviously, is that yesterday we talked about the surveillance state. Yesterday we talked about how the police are supposed to navigate around these sorts of things and apprehend suspects and have this like massive net of surveillance, and how that is going to subvert and apprehend and stop additional, terror attacks from potentially taking place. Now, what's interesting is, as I said yesterday, they don't do that. It doesn't actually end up doing that, playing that role at all. And this is yet further evidence that it doesn't do that at all. But having said that, we have I don't want to show the video here if it shows like the actual, he just kind of hooks a right directly in to the crowd, passing a cop car. I won't show the rest of it, but I just wanted to show you that like they have what do you call it? They have placed barricades.
With local and federal
anyway, here's the FBI. We'll now tune into the FBI press briefing that took place. We'll listen to the press conference that took place. Also, on top of that, the local press conference with the police, and apparently Kennedy was there as well.
Ongoing investigation.
Oh, it was a Ford F-150 Lightning. That's why its pickup is crazy. All right, that makes sense, because it was that right hook turn is like, it's not the most significant factor here, obviously, but like it's a heavier vehicle, and also two, it can accelerate with incredible speed, like much faster than an ICE engine car of similar weight.
Into the tragic attack in New Orleans. This is Fox News live coverage of the terror attack, the New Year's Day terror attack in New Orleans. Let's listen now to the officials.
I'm going to provide you some facts and information about what we do know. I know that all of you will have questions, and we will try to provide some answers. But this is an ongoing investigation that's rapidly evolving. So there are some questions I will be unable to answer at this time.
There's a YouTube video that is now deleted of the suspect as well. It's just like, it's crazy to me that, God, everything is logged online. It's wild.
The FBI is the lead investigative agency on the
Did they not change the microphone? That's crazy. I assume that there's got to be a better mic here, right? If only there were a billionaire CEO there, the cops would have done a better job. No, they wouldn't have. That's the whole... They would not have. I don't think the cops couldn't stop Brian Thompson from being shot in broad daylight either. Yeah, CNN has it. I don't think CNN has uploaded it yet. But I will go to the CNN. I will try to find the CNN coverage.
Also located in the French Quarter. As of now, 2 IEDs have been found and rendered safe. The FBI's collision bomb as our local law enforcement.
They're trying to fix the audio, I think.
Us.
Oh, there it is.
The FBI is asking the public's help. We're asking anyone, video or pictures, to provide it to the FBI. We have set up a digital tip line as well as our 1-800 number, 1-800-CALL-FBI. Please provide us with any information that can assist us in this investigation. Once again, thank you for your patience and assistance. For an updated statements or information.
Calling it terrorism reads racist. I mean, no, it is. It is definitionally an act of terrorism. The problem is, I guess, that is intentionally vague and almost always, almost never applied to white supremacist domestic terrorists, even though they run up the numbers. But it is. It's an act of terror. Like 100%. This is colloquially, when you talk about trying to kill as many civilians as possible, that is an act of domestic terror, okay? Whether it's by car ramming, whether it's by shooting, whether it's by blowing stuff up with IEDs, improvised explosive devices, that is definitionally and colloquially what you would consider to be an act of terrorism, okay? The fact that he did this with an ISIS flag or potentially converted to Islam and then got radicalized and was potentially working with other people, that doesn't make it more terrorism. And then like someone like Dylan Roof, less terrorism. Those would both be colloquially And even with the vague interpretation of what the terror designation is, both of those would still be considered acts of terrorism. The problem, of course, is that in many circumstances, when it's a white supremacist domestic shooter or an anti-government far-right extremist of different backgrounds, they are oftentimes not considered terrorists in the same frequency as obviously someone who might be an Islamic revert or someone doing it at the behest of ISIS. Okay? That's the difference. They just don't call the other thing that. But even then, the definition is intentionally vague regardless. Flag was found inside the car. Then they hang it up. I don't know if that's the case. What? That seems insane, especially because they, from the videos I saw, I think they hid the flag. Anyway, it is a horrifying tragedy, of course, in an unimaginably violent nation, in a nation where this sort of thing happens all too frequently. If you rob it of the identity markers, death and destruction is incredibly commonplace. Mass shootings are a lot more frequent in this country than any other nation. And yet, this on top of, this will most likely get a lot more understandable coverage considering the timing and also the potential implications given who did this act of violence. Now, the usual actors that want to turn every tragedy into another talking point for their pet issues seemingly consider this to be an undocumented migrant. New Orleans terror attackers said to have come across the border in Eagle Pass 2 days ago. Shut the border down. Who did our government bomb lately that is taking it out on innocent Americans? Apparently, the New Orleans car ramming attacker was also a U.S. citizen born and raised in Texas. Also, crime rates are not anywhere close to where they've been in the past, but neither Trump nor Sheep will let facts get in the way of their hateful narrative. Here's the Trump statement. When I said that criminals coming in are far worse than the criminals we have in our country, the statement was constantly refuted by Democrats and the fake news media, but it turned out to be true. Because they are more, the right wing is broadly more focused on undocumented migrant crime and consistently trying to portray that as the overarching narrative so they can tie it back to their white nativist immigration strategies. They jumped the gun and immediately went, oh, this is an undocumented migrant, not realizing that this is another type of common narrative that you can always point to, which is Islamic terror, right? So they kind of blew their load a little bit too early, it seems. Apparently, Fox News also tried to hit the human smuggling angle here.
About the particular truck that was used in this, we know
what?
That was used in this. We know that it was a rental. We know that it was brought from Texas and it was spotted in Eagle Pass, Texas, back on November 19th. But we understand that the truck does have a history of plate readers. It never actually passed through from Mexico into Eagle Pass. However, the license plate on this truck.
I heard he's aligned with ISIS. Damn, Twitter needs to be banned. No, the FBI has said that he is aligned with ISIS. It's not simply a Twitter narrative. People aren't just making that up.
Has a history of plate readers at the border in patterns, and I'm quoting, that may be suspicious for human smuggling. When this story first broke, a lot of people wanted to know the identity of the suspect. When you hear human smuggling, you think about the border, and the border has obviously been such a dangerous, ignored problem for this country, with so many of these sleeper cells and terrorists who want to harm Americans illegally crossing our borders. What part of that most alarms you?
Well, I've been alarmed by terrorists and criminals crossing our border for some time. In fact, one of the lawsuits that I filed against the Biden administration addressed the fact that the administration was not removing violent criminals who had been convicted and served their time and were subject to removal under federal law. So, and we know that there are a number of other people who've been allowed across our border without any real checking, and that we've got known terrorists among us. This is part of the same pattern. It is very concerning, and I think that we've got a lot of sorting out to do when the new administration takes over.
Crazy theory, I know, but isn't it weird that all this lines up with the border stuff to help Trump justify his weird soft invasion plans for Mexico? I mean, it's not. That's not crazy. The crazy thing is they jumped the gun to very clearly treat this as though it was an undocumented migrant, or at least like heavily leaning on the side that like this is an undocumented migrant related attack, because that is that is what they are trying to, look, the government has certain enemies, okay, that they like to point to. The right specifically, and sometimes even Democrats, like to point to a common villain. If you have a common villain that everyone needs to be afraid of, you can justify a lot of crazy invasions of privacy. You can justify a lot of military action. You manufacture consent surrounding this common villain with stereotypes in media. And right now, that common villain is not Muslims broadly, even though that was the common villain, the number one enemy of America and the number one enemy of the West for quite a while under the War on Terror, America's War on Terror initiatives. Okay. Nowadays, because the common villain for the modern right is undocumented migrants, that's the reason why they immediately hit the undocumented migrant button. For some on the internet, their common villain is trans people. So whenever there's a mass shooting, they say, oh, it's a trans person that did that. For some on the right, the common villain is undocumented migrants. So whenever there's a mass shooting, they go, oh, that was an undocumented migrant that did that. The statistical probability does not matter in this situation. It does not matter. It doesn't factor into the equation at all, even though the most common acts of domestic terror are conducted by oftentimes straight white men. Doesn't matter, by the way. I'm not saying that to be like, this is somehow important to factor in. It's just that even if you don't engage in any sort of speculation, these people oftentimes do not engage in any sort of statistical analysis. When engaging in this speculation, it's purely to use any sort of violence to contribute to the overarching enemy's narrative that they have. If you're a hyper transphobic person online, every mass shooting, regardless of who it is, you will always turn around and say it's a trans person. Okay? If you're Islamophobic, during the War on Terror initiatives, during the War on Terror manufacturing consent era, every single time there was another like right winger or whatever that did a mass shooting, everyone would be like, oh, this is a Islamic terror, Islamic terrorism, Islamic terror. Okay. Nowadays, that common enemy is for the right, for the modern right. The common enemy is undocumented migrants. The only thing that's important about this, understanding what's going on here, is that nobody really cares about waiting for more facts to come out and immediately jump to whoever the common villain is, the common villain of the day is, or the common villain of the month is, and say, oh, this is it. It must be a migrant. It turns out it's not. Turns out it's a dude born and raised in America, Army veteran, recent convert to Islam, and was, divorced from his first wife, and seemingly was exhibiting erratic behavior, according to the New York Times. A man who knew Shamsuddin Bahar Jabbar tells us Jabbar had converted to Islam, then began acting erratically in recent months. The concerning behavior led him having limited contact with his children. We also spoke to the man who rented the truck to Jabbar. Here's our updating story on the suspect in New Orleans. I will be talking about this a little bit further. Divorced from two wives. Sorry, he got divorced, he got remarried, and then I believe divorced again. Federal agents at the home of the second wife of the Bourbon Street attacker in Houston, Texas, where the woman's new husband, Dwayne Marsh, said Jabbar had begun to convert to Islam within the last year and was being all crazy. This is from Steve Herman, House Bureau Chief of Voice of America News, which is, well, you know what Voice America News is. Here's a video of him as well. 42-year-old Shamsuddin Jabbar, accused of carrying out the attack, uploaded a video to YouTube where he introduced himself as a property manager. And I gave you his background, his extensive background here as well. Hold on. Let me find that really quickly. Where is it? Oh, here it is. This is from Intercept investigative reporter, Guardian investigative reporter, written for Politico and Mother Joe's Business Insider, Jacqueline Sweet. Says Shamsuddin Jabbar's LinkedIn profile was deleted, but here are the ghost remnants. His current job was IT team chief at the U.S. Army Reserve. Previous job was Information Technology Team Leader at U.S. Army Reserve, Information Management Officer at U.S. Army, Senior Information Systems Specialist at U.S. Army, Human Resources Supervisor at U.S. Army, HR Specialist at U.S. Army, Data Entry Operator at U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Data Entry Clerk at U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Data Entry Clerk at United States Postal Service. His education is Central Senior High School. He has a Bachelor of Business Administration from Georgia State University, and he's a graduate from Fort Gordon NCO Academy. He's a graduate from 25B Information Technology MOS Training, and a graduate from U.S. Army Alaska NCO Academy. Associates from Central Texas College, Associate's degree from Central Texas College, an honor graduate from 42A Human Resource Specialist Advanced Individual Training, graduate from U.S. Army Basic Combat Training, and University of Houston. Jabor has several LLCs registered in Texas and Georgia, mostly seem to be real estate related. He had a Twitter account, which is now deleted, where he was active until at least 2021. Previous arrest in 2002 for driving with a suspended license in Texas. Here are some of his posts from his deleted profile. But like I said, or like Jacqueline is reporting, that the last time it seems that he was active on the platform was 2021. So I don't necessarily think that this like translates to his new point of radicalization. It gives a little bit of info on his background, but not necessarily anything significant about his new point of radicalization. Here, let's get to the FBI report.
Please check the FBI's website and our social media accounts. I will now turn over to Mayor Cantrell. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Agent Duncan, for your leadership and the full support of the FBI. First and foremost, I want to express my deepest condolences to the families and loved ones that were impacted by this tragedy on Bourbon Street and in the heart of the city of New Orleans. And I know that the entire New Orleans City Council grieves along right with me, no doubt about that, and our people and our families. My priority will continue to be to ensure that victims that remain on Bourbon Street now will be serviced and removed as soon as possible. But
what?
This tragedy in the city of New Orleans. The mission now is to facilitate support.
It's giving PTSD. Look, man, we need to see more on his background before making before speculating. It can be a number of different things. It can be a point of radicalization that a point of radicalization post like PTSD posts, multiple divorces. It can be, I don't know. I mean, the ISIS is fairly closely aligned and affiliated with the American State Department, so that in and of itself is giving cause to speculation as well. It was non-combat. It doesn't matter. You can still get PTSD from even basic training, but that's not exactly the. I mean that is, like I'm saying, it's one thing, that one of many different factors at play here.
And coordinate safe to keep our residents and our visitors safe.
Can we please think about the poor Muslims that will suffer Islamophobia across the West? This person right here, Anglo Pigeon, is 100% saying this as bait. Okay? They're saying this as bait so that they can turn around and clip the reactions to what he's saying, to turn around and post it on Twitter to be like, oh, see, Hasan only cares about Muslims and the safety of Muslims, even though this is a damning indication that all Muslims are dangerous. Okay? That's what it is. And in an effort to be as charitable as possible, I'm going to ban this person. Yeah, you inbred Mosey scum. Inbred Mosey, deport them all. There it is. That's cool, man. He just knew that his time was coming, his ban was coming, and he just couldn't. Okay, let me explain something very quickly. An act of unimaginable violence from one group, a person from a background that is not white. If you see that and say, well, this is how all members of said group are like. Okay? That's just racism. Okay? That's it. That's all it is. The notion that one person's acts of violence is a damning indication for the entire race, ethnic background, or religion is insane. And it's the same as, for example, assuming that all Jewish people love what Israel is doing and across the board are on board with it and want to eviscerate Palestinian children. Okay? That's it. That's anti-Semitic, and it is bigoted thinking. It's stupid thinking. You understand? That's not how this works. Having said that, let's get back to this person's YouTube video.
Good evening. I'm Shelly Jabor, property manager with Blue Metal Properties and team lead at the Midas Group at Core Realty. I just want to say hello and let you know a little bit about me. So I'm born and raised in Beaumont, Texas, and now live in Houston. And I've been here all my life, with the exception of traveling for the military, where I spent 10 years as a human resources specialist and IT specialist, where I learned the meaning of great service and what it means to be responsive and take everything seriously, dotting I's and crossing T's to make sure that things go off without a hitch. So I've taken those skills and applied them to my career as a real estate agent, where I feel like what really sets me apart from other agents is my ability to be able to, one, be a fierce negotiator.
To criticize Israel is not anti-Semitism, in my honest opinion. I am the number one critique of Israel, the number one criticizer of Israel, and am routinely falsely smeared as an anti-Semite for that reason. Of course, criticizing Israel is not anti-Semitism, but the assumption that all Jews love Israel and or any sort of conflation between Zionism and Judaism is anti-Semitic, no matter who is doing that conflation. It can be a Christian supporter of Israel, it can be a Jewish supporter of Israel, or it can be a Christian or Jewish not supporter of Israel. It does not matter. It can be Candace Owens making that conflation. It's still anti-Semitic. It could be Jake Tapper making that conflation or Joe Brandon making that conflation, and it still serves an anti-Semitic purpose.
So not only do I brilliantly market your property to make sure it gets sold as quickly as possible or gets...
It's remarkable how seemingly normal this guy comes across, by the way, in this video.
Least as quickly as possible, but I'm also going to take every ounce of energy and putting it into negotiating for you and for your property to get the best deal that you can possibly get for it. So once we get to the closing table, all the I's are going to be dotted, all the T's are going to be crossed, everything's going to go off without a hitch, and that is my word that I'm giving to you as your real estate agent. So if that's the type of agent you're looking for, reach out to me. You see my phone number on the page. If not, it's 832-774-9718. Give me a call. And even if you don't want to have me as your agent, call me with any questions you may have. So even if you're a first-time home buyer or you're an experienced real estate investor and you're just looking for somebody to help you with doing some analysis on some properties that you're looking at, either way, give me a call. I'm glad to help anytime. And I'm looking forward to talking to you.
This is not the Basquiat in the back. Only reason Republicans are government are coming out in support, not pulling the Lib City card. Super Bowl is there here in a month. We must protect Capitol. When black on black mass killings happen on Bourbon, we're scrutinized last a day in the media. People are saying there's red flags. How? Yeah, I don't know what you guys are talking about in terms of the red flags, because that just reads as like a fairly normal person. I don't pick up on any red flags here at all. I think what makes this unique is apparently his recent radicalization. Just like a Texan man, Army veteran, and now real estate guy. Army veteran turned real estate guy. There are a million people like him. Like, I think in comparison to the Christmas market act of terror in Germany, in Magdeburg, that dude's social media footprint was insane. That dude's social media footprint was the ramblings of a psychotic madman who was ultra racist, ultra Islamophobic, AFD aligned. He was making the rounds on many other far right websites online. That one profiles like a mass shooter waiting to happen or a terrorist waiting to erupt at any given moment. this person so far, his profile online, what we can recover of his profile online, does not showcase a footprint that is consistent with what you normally see from people like this.
Safe. I've gone to the hospital along with Chief Kirkpatrick to visit our police officers, and considering their injuries, they're doing well. As I mentioned, this investigation is ongoing, and the
FBI knew from me, Pamela Brown and CNN. Investigators reviewed video showing 3 men and a woman who may have been involved in placing suspected improvised explosive devices in the French Quarter of New Orleans. Law enforcement sources tell CNN. Investigators have also found writings that the FBI believes support investigators' view that this was inspired by ISIS with the suspect. Oh, God, I can't even use these websites without freaking ad blockers now. Jesus Christ. Okay, where's the live stream? Jesus, Lord mercy. Okay.
Happened, and both schools put out statements saying that the team, personnel, anyone that was traveling, was a part of the team, the band included, they were all fine. But Georgia also did put out a statement saying that unfortunately one of their students was critically injured in the incident, Phil. So our thoughts and prayers definitely go out to that student as well as anyone that was affected in the attack.
Absolutely. Andy Scholes, thanks so much. Our next guest is someone who knows New Orleans quite well. I want to bring in Louisiana State Senator Royce Duplessis. Mr. Senator, you grew up in New Orleans. You were raised in New Orleans. What was it like to receive the phone call, to hear the news about this attack this morning?
Thank you, Phil. Well, waking up this morning, like most people, most normal people who they wake up on New Year's Day, you're looking forward to a new day, a new opportunity, and you're just grateful for all the blessings in your life. So to receive this type of devastating news at the time when I opened my eyes this morning was something that I just really couldn't believe. It was truly unthinkable. And my immediate thoughts went to the victims, trying to people actually did die. We know at least 10 people have perished and over 25 have been injured. But to the point about having grown up in a city like New Orleans, major events is nothing new to us. Large crowd gatherings is part of our identity. And for something like this to happen, it certainly never happened in my lifetime. No terrorist event like this has happened. So it's been shocking to our core. But we are going to stand firm. We reject any type of terrorist acts. We will not be intimidated. And this will not define the city of New Orleans.
Yeah, the strength of the community, and anybody who's been down there understands kind of the love the community has for visitors. It pairs with the fact that the community is so good at handling things like this. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people coming in. That's a regular day that ends in Y down in New Orleans. I think the question with the delay of the game is concerns related to the fact that FBI officials, law enforcement officials saying the suspect may not have acted alone. What more do you know about that?
The RV, wasn't the RV explosion? Yes, where was that? It was in the South. It was in like near an AT&T facility, but it was also around New Year's, wasn't it? A couple of years prior. Do you guys remember what I'm talking about? I think it was in Nashville, right? Yeah.
For making the difficult but appropriate decision.
It was in Nashville, and wasn't it also around New Year's or was it Christmas?
Events, but we cannot replace lives, and we've lost lives, and there's still more assessment to be done. And part of that assessment, a major part of that assessment, is to identify who these other actors are and swiftly apprehend them and thoroughly complete this investigation. Because in addition to giving the families the solace that they're going to need through this devastating loss, we are going to have to give residents and visitors a sense of comfort and a sense of safety that we investigated
2020
and solved this. And I believe and have full faith that all parties are acting in coordination at all levels to get to the bottom of this.
Well, our hearts and prayers certainly go out to you, to the community on the whole. Louisiana State Senator Royce Duplessis, thanks so much.
Thank you.
A live look in New Orleans right now. That's Bourbon Street.
It's crazy, man.
More new details just ahead.
There is also a Cybertruck explosion outside of a Trump Tower, but I don't think that is in any way, shape, or form related, but who knows? But yeah, suspect in New Orleans attack is identified as a Texan and had an ISIS flag with him. In a YouTube video from 2020, the man identified as a suspect said he had been born and raised in Beaumont, Texas, and had served in the U.S. military. We watched that video already. Shelly Jabor is his name, 42 years old. a native of Texas who has served in the U.S. Army, did a lot of IT work for the U.S. Army as well, and also was a real estate guy. The Federal Bureau of Investigation said it was examining an Islamic State flag that was found in the truck used in the attack, that it believed Mr. Jabor was not solely responsible. Several improvised explosive devices were found and disposed of, officials said. CNN is also CNN breaking news on the Tesla Cybertruck that exploded outside of the Trump Tower. Is being investigated as a possible act of terror as well.
Just in, a law enforcement official briefed on that Tesla Cybertruck explosion outside of Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas tells CNN that the incident is now being investigated as a possible terrorist act. Police say it took place at around 8:40 a.m. local time. There was one person inside the vehicle who died, and 7 other people suffered minor injuries. The FBI is involved in this investigation, and we are going to stay on top of the story and bring you updates as we.
This happened right on New Year's, just before the Sugar Bowl game. We still both have Mardi Gras in the Super Bowl that our city of New Orleans is hosting in the coming months. We're shaking. Yeah, so here's the Tesla explosion. Oops, nope, that's just Elon Musk with his human shield at the Trump New Year's celebration. Breaking, video shows Tesla Cybertruck explosion at Trump Hotel in Las Vegas, cause unknown. Police confirmed the driver was killed in the Cybertruck explosion at Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. 7 others were injured. I believe he exploded a bunch of fireworks in the Tesla, the person. Or all the secondary explosions that you see. Do not play. No, this doesn't show anything. You think it looks like a lithium could be battery cells, I guess. That's what lithium does. So one thing I don't understand also is that, like, even if it wasn't like purposely exploded, I thought it was confirmed that there were fireworks, but even if it was like lithium battery explosions, I thought that this type of stuff was like impossible to put out in such a short period of time. Of course, never let a crisis go to waste. Senator Kennedy demands answers for the New Orleans truck attack. We're going to go back to the morning press conference in Louisiana. Louisiana Senator Kennedy also made an appearance. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
I wish I understood better why bad things happen to good people. If I make it to heaven, I'm going to ask. For those people who don't believe in objective evil, all you have to do is look at what happened in our city early this morning.
Well, you will not be seeing the pearly gates, Senator. That much I know.
I am, if this doesn't trigger the gag reflex of every American, every fair-minded American, I'll be very surprised. I'm here because these are my people. I'm here because these are my people's friends. I'm here because there are a lot of Louisianians that are scared tonight. I don't want them to be. There's a lot of information going around. Some of it is actually true. Some of it isn't. The federal government is now in charge of this investigation. By that, I mean the White House, the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Department of Justice. I have not talked to the FBI. Maybe they've talked to my staff. I don't know. I did talk to the Secretary of Homeland Security a little while ago. And I told him that with all the respect I could muster, that we expect to put the full force and resources of the federal government behind this investigation. Our state troopers, our local police departments, our sheriffs, we've got many sheriffs here today, have been terrific so far. The federal government is cooperating with them. I hope that will continue. Here's what I want to ask from the federal government. Catch these people, and then tell the American people the truth. Now, I don't want you to tell us yet anything that's going to interfere with your investigation. And there are things that I've been told that I think are true that I'm not sharing with you today because it could interfere with their investigation. But after we get to the bottom of this, they need to tell the American people the truth, and the people of New Orleans the truth, and the people of America the truth. I think the mayor and the governor.
There are potentially other people that were working alongside the main perpetrator. That's what he's talking about. Gremlo said earlier on a stream that he'd love to come on your stream to talk about this since he's really familiar with New Orleans politics. I don't know if he's around right now, but I mean, I'll see in a little bit.
Very wise to postpone this ball game for 24 hours. There's just too much stuff we don't know, and it's just not worth it. But
is he insinuating that it was CIA? I doubt that Senator Kennedy would insinuate that this is a CIA thing, because the perpetrator is a Islamic convert who potentially got radicalized and had sympathies for ISIS. In that regard, it is actually closer to this being the work of the CIA if you are a conspiratorially minded person, considering the ISIS affiliations with the American State Department. But a person like Kennedy would never say that for a situation like this. He would only say that if it was a white supremacist, anti-government extremist or something like that. I think he's insinuating that this was the result of illegal migration. I don't know.
My final point is, I will promise you this. I will, when it is appropriate and this investigation is complete, you will find out what happened and who was responsible. Or I will raise fresh hell, and I will chase those in the federal government who are responsible for telling us what happened, like they stole Christmas.
All right, so that's another clip of him.
Can I say something, Riker? Tell me who you're with. WSU. Okay, and CBS.
NBC's over here on the right.
Oh, that's an unusual position.
I don't get it.
You wouldn't. Look, can I say?
Is he fucking drunk? Nah, this is just how he is all the time. That's just how he carries himself. To paraphrase Groucho Marx, John Kennedy here may talk like an idiot, look like an idiot, but don't let that fool you. He really is an idiot. He's not. You want to know something, guys? You know how we sometimes speculate that streamers and content creators portray themselves as much dumber than they actually are in an effort to fucking do content and maybe even shelter themselves from additional scrutiny? Like, oh, he's just a dumb guy. John Kennedy is one of the perfect examples of that. Not only is he an Ivy Leaguer, but he's also a Rhodes Scholar. Okay? So the whole, like, I'm a country bumpkin, oh, don't listen to me, I don't know what the hell's going on, that's just simply a weaponization of incompetence. He literally is a Rhodes Scholar. Okay? He is a Rhodes Scholar. So all of that is just an act. I'm going to repeat his background for you, just so you understand. He went to Vanderbilt University to get a bachelor, went to University of Virginia to get his JD, and then he went to Magdalen College in Oxford, okay? At Vanderbilt, Kennedy studied philosophy, economics, and political science. He was elected president of his senior class and named Phi Beta Kappa. He graduated from Vanderbilt. He received a Juris Doctorate in 1977 from University of Virginia School of Law. There he was the executive director of the Virginia Law Review, elected to the Order of the Coif. In 1979, he earned a Bachelor of Civil Law master's degree with first-class honors from Oxford University. Wait, I thought he was a Rhodes Scholar too. Is he not? But yeah, he graduated. He went to Oxford University. The attacker was brainwashed by religion. That's what happened. Yeah. HasanAbi, he's upset. His people are being attacked. Can't blame him. His people? Brother, we're all Americans. You know that, right? Like, what do you mean his people? What the fuck are you talking about, his people? We are all Americans. Okay? When a terror attack happens on a New Year's Eve celebration with people from different backgrounds from all around the country, it is not a specific attack against, you know, I don't know. I don't know what you're fucking saying here. You're thinking of Bill Clinton. He was a Rhodes Scholar. Oxford is Rhodes. Okay. So he's a Rhodes Scholar. Rhodes Scholarship recipient. He's saying the attacker was Muslim like you. Chatter was being a racist. Yeah. Okay. Let's hear what Wolf has to say.
I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room.
This is something that happened 5 years ago. What does it matter now? What, the 2020 bombing? I only brought it up because the timing of that was also suspect, and we didn't fully understand what happened in that situation either.
People and injured dozens of others. We're also learning more about the driver of the truck and his background. CNN's Kyung La is standing by with new reporting, new information just coming in. But first, let's go to CNN's Omar Jimenez, who's on the scene for us in New Orleans. Omar, first of all, give us the latest on the investigation and the video now being reviewed by authorities.
Yeah, Wolf. So for starters, we knew the FBI did not believe that this driver was solely responsible for what happened, to use their words. And we also knew from them that they found an ISIS flag in the vehicle along with a potential IED.
This is so weird, dude. Why do people do this? Close up of the officer's weapon in New Orleans. What is that pink stuff? It's just light, dude. It's light. Okay.
Investigators have reviewed
25,000 likes.
3 men and a
it's
woman
just
who
light.
they believe may have been involved in placing suspected IEDs in the French Quarter, and that investigators also found writings that they believe support their going theory that this was inspired by ISIS. Of course, comes on top of the flag that was found as well. And we know the FBI has said for most of the day that they have been investigating this as an act of terrorism. Now, there are also questions about how exactly this vehicle got around barricades that were installed years ago to sort of to try and prevent this very thing from happening. Well, we're getting a glimpse of kind of how this happened, specifically from some surveillance video from a business across the street from the key intersection here. It's actually the intersection behind me from where I'm standing. You see a white pickup truck come down Canal Street, essentially behind where I am now. And then a police officer, what appears to be, is sort of blocking Bourbon Street. But what you do see is that white pickup truck goes around that police officer and then goes into Bourbon Street, where, again, we know this attack unfolded. And we got a little clue from law enforcement today who told us that, well, those barriers just weren't working.
The driver didn't get away. He got out with a gun and then got shot and killed in the gun battle.
Instead, they put
that took place afterwards
in front of some of those.
I think 2 cops were injured as well, right, in the process.
Some of this happening, but that this person went around these vehicles onto the sidewalk and was able to evade some of those barriers. Now, there were a lot of extra people in town for a big college football game between Notre Dame and the University of Georgia. We also know from a shop owner that the crowds were still packed on the streets at around 3 a.m. when this attack actually unfolded.
Why are you reporting if you know none of the details?
We know that football game was pushed an extra day, but at the heart
of this,
are you
talking to me or are you talking to CNN? Because I'm not reporting on anything. I'm not there. CNN is reporting on the details that we do know of that is confirmed.
After this attack that happened in just a few minutes, Wolf.
So awful and so sad indeed. Omar, I want you to stand by. I want to bring in our senior investigative correspondent, Kyung La, right now. Kyung, what more?
Why is this declared terrorism? Dude, if this was a white dude, okay, who drove a pickup truck into this crowded Bourbon Street New Year's celebration, okay, New Year's Eve celebration, it would still be an act of terrorism. Terrorism as a definition is intentionally vague and oftentimes politically applied towards enemies of the American state. Having said that, however, it like in the most basic definition of terrorism, trying to kill as many civilians as possible in an effort to, I don't know, create like a race war, or in an effort to say that you love ISIS, for example, would still fit that same would still fit that same definition. Objectively, this is, you know, there's nothing weird about considering this an act of terror.
Titled Leadership. Now, authorities do confirm that he served in the U.S. Army. We do have a picture of him from that photo that was posted on Facebook from the U.S. Army. This is a picture of him in 2013. It's a Facebook post from the U.S. Army again, and he's identified in this photo as an Army Staff Sergeant working as an information technology team chief for the 82nd Airborne Division's 1st Brigade Combat Team, and that was back then in 2013. He also posted an online resume where he describes how he graduated from Central Texas College in 2010 and he received a bachelor's degree from Georgia State University in 2017. Georgia State does confirm that he did attend there and did graduate. And Texas records also show that he had a real estate license from 2019 and it expired in 2023. And then the last thing, Wolf, that we found really interesting, because it sort of lays the financial picture of his life currently, is that he was in a divorce with his first wife, and that in 2012, she had sued him for child support. But in 2022, he had submitted an email talking about how he was struggling financially. He wrote that he had fallen behind in house payments, that he feared that he was nearing foreclosure, that he was behind more than $27,000 in payments. He also wrote that the business that he had talked about in that YouTube video, that it had also not made money. He'd lost $28,000 and he was $16,000 in credit card debt, Wolf.
Lots of new information. Kyung-La, thank you. Omar Jimenez, thanks to you as well. I want to break all of this down with our law enforcement experts. Andrew McCabe, let me start with you. What are the next steps right now for the FBI, and you're a former deputy director of the FBI, as they try to determine who the individuals placing these improvised explosive devices in the area are?
Absolutely, Wolf. That is priority one for the FBI right now, to identify and locate those individuals who they have captured in the surveillance video, placing the IED devices, which at least two of which have been rendered safe, and therefore are probably providing the Bureau with some evidence that they can use to compare to the device and the other evidence that's been recovered from the truck. And so they may have a solid forensic connection between the IEDs, which would only confirm their suspicion that those three men and one woman are related to or working in concert with the driver of the truck. So that's the biggest potential threat the Bureau is probably focused on right now. And they are doing all the things that we have seen in these sorts of situations in the past. They are scouring video coverage to try to locate those folks and track their movements last night as they led up to the moment of placing the IEDs. They're trying to locate places to search. They're trying to locate individuals who might know something about those folks. So it's a lot of activity going on focused in that direction.
Critically important information they got to find out. Mary Ellen O'Toole, you're a former senior FBI profiler. What could these IEDs tell you about the perpetrator's intention? Does that suggest to you that a larger attack was indeed planned?
Certainly, and thank you for having me on. The IEDs will be very—
There's a lot that make up a very normal narrative, and then there are some aspects of this that I consider to be a little like weird. How the fuck does a guy like divorced dad, army veteran, all this stuff, right? Divorced dad, army veteran, under debt, that makes up a very common thread for a point of radicalization for a lot of people. The ISIS shit, on the other hand, is weird. Like converting to Islam and then becoming like an ISIS supporter. That stuff, I mean, it could have happened after his point of radicalization due to his financial circumstances or whatever. But like, I don't know. I mean, it seems wild. It seems like a thread from I don't know, what people oftentimes point to in Europe, even if there's no evidence for it whatsoever.
Designed and constructed so that they would actually be weapons of lethality as well. So that goes to the intent.
Especially considering his like extensive background in the military.
Charles Ramsey is with us as well, the former Washington, D.C. police chief, former police commissioner in Philadelphia. Chief Ramsey, what are the challenges for law enforcement right now?
What are you implying by that? I don't know. I'm saying that
while conducting this investigation.
Well, first of all, we all know the French.
I think. Look, I don't look at situations like this and immediately go, "Ooh, there's a grand conspiracy here." Okay. Usually, what you see is what you get. Having said that, however, I would say that it could very well be the entry point into his radicalization was initially his material conditions that then caused him to go fucking nuts, so radicalized, convert to Islam, and then get radicalized online. The very fact that he had people working with him potentially is also strange. A lot of the lone wolf incidents like this are lone wolf incidents. You know what I mean? It's just like one person that will engage in the ramming attack. But the fact that there's IEDs involved in this and potentially other people also involved in this as well, that like the police are looking around the entire area for additional improvised explosive devices. It's much more sophisticated and more coordinated than the average like point of radicalization. Like guy who's radicalized who just like goes out and does an act of violence, even if it's at the behest of ISIS or whatever. I mean, the fact that they found the improvised explosive devices, like, in my opinion, getting the vibe that most of chat today is wanting to do a full conspiracy bulletin board. I don't know. I have no idea what happened. I will repeat that over and over again. I do not know what happened, and only time will tell. In many instances like this, we never get the full picture. Like, we don't even know the full picture of Stephen Paddock to this day, right? The Las Vegas shooter. Having said that, there's also within the initial breaking news coverage of this, there will oftentimes be incorrect information. So it's important not to read too far into it. Like, I'll give you an example. They're saying that there's numerous other IEDs, right, that they have found and intercepted. That could, one, be absolutely correct, or it could be that the news is reporting it as IEDs, even though they were like fucking fireworks or something. You know what I mean? I'm using an example. I'm not telling you that that's what happened, but I'm using this as an example to show you that sometimes even well-intentioned people in their news coverage, when they're doing breaking news coverage, will just run with whatever the police initially thought was going on, and then later down the line, they will follow up and say, oh no, these were actually not IEDs, improvised explosive devices, but instead it was just fireworks that we found. So it's important not to get lost in, it's important not to pull on certain threads and like really, it's important not to be too invested in immediate common threads in the aftermath of a situation like this,
left the way it was
and
left
wait
today,
for more
where there's
information to
still a lot
come
of
and
work
more
that has to be
verification
done.
to come
And
after
that's,
as well.
simply a matter of fact when you have a case like this. But when it's left like that, where we still have a lot more to do, what's not being said is there may be some important points, some important leads that we've not been able to close yet. And that, for most people, should give them pause as to whether or not they might want to attend that game, because they just simply cannot be guaranteed of their safety.
Yeah, I know a lot of folks are worried about that. Everyone stand by. We're going to continue this conversation. We'll have much more on the investigation as we learn new details. Exciting time in the world.
Damn, they just jumped into ads so quick. Also, there's additional updates on both the Cybertruck explosion in Las Vegas and this New Orleans attack. But Elon Musk has confirmed that the explosion was caused by a very large fireworks and or bomb carried in the bed of the rented Cybertruck and is unrelated to the vehicle itself. All vehicle telemetry was positive at the time of the explosion. And Fightix News has brought forth AP Reuters coverage on this. Both the Cybertruck involved in the Las Vegas explosion and the truck used in the New Orleans terror attack were rented to the same app, Turo, which is not that unique, for the record. That's normal. Turo is an application used for exactly those kinds of vehicles, like Cybertrucks, F-150 Lightning, which is, I believe, the ISIS dude used. So it's not that uncommon, and I don't think there's anything unique about the application itself. It's just a rental application. It's a peer-to-peer rental service.
Las Vegas, because this has been a sort of interesting development. You know, the images of the Cybertruck parked outside the Las Vegas Trump property went viral. You know, sort of, I think people thought it was an accident and then no one was hurt, and so there was a sort of bizarre symbolism, and then it was a Cybertruck, it was out Trump. As it's developed, it seems that this is being taken far more seriously. What have we learned about what authorities know and how they're investigating this?
Right, Chris. So according to the reporting of myself, my colleagues Andrew Blankstein and Kelly O'Donnell, right now, 3 senior U.S. law enforcement officials say that this explosion of a Tesla Cybertruck, kind of in the portico there where you saw that smoke rising from in front of Trump's property in Las Vegas, is being investigated, at least initially, as a potential act of terrorism, and that it was, quote, intentional. And there was a...
Let's talk about...
I haven't seen a single pic of the ISIS flag. How can it do rollout with a flag around a super crowded city without people taking video and pics? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, is the flag on the car in the initial video when he's driving in? Because I didn't see that. Like, I don't know when the flag was planted on the car. It might have been covered. It's on, but wrapped up on the back. Oh, okay. So it was rolled up. It was not in the car. It was in the cab. People are saying it's Some people have said the flag was inside of the cab. Some people are saying the flag was rolled up in the back and then someone unveiled it. I don't know. I don't know what happened there. I have no idea.